Hey guys, having a bit of a problem with my normal camera, so I'm going to do this vlog, no, well, not a vlog, but this post. You can see I mounted the camera up on there and then the batteries decided to die, so I was trying to get this out today at some point, so I'm using my fabulous iPhone 6S. It's a bit of an angle, I do apologise, but here we go. So today's video is about a press accreditation, and what I mean by by press accreditation or media accreditation is basically photo passes, so you're able to go ahead and photo at shows. So there's multiple ways of doing this. When I first started out, went off a recommendation of a friend of mine at that time, and he told me that because I had no idea about how to get obviously access to shows, and I didn't have a portfolio either, so one of the things that he recommended at that time was basically to get in contact with the band directly, or look out for the management details on socials like Facebook, Twitter. At that time, Twitter wasn't really a huge thing, so Facebook or MySpace, and literally just drop them an email and just explain to them that you want to go ahead and shoot the show, and it's going to be used in wherever it's going to be used, X, Y, and Z, and 98% of the time that works. I would also recommend on getting in contact with the venue as well. So if you're working with your local music venues and unsigned artists, then definitely just drop them a message directly, or ask to speak to the manager who runs the nights at the music venues and explain to them what you're doing, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to have you down, because initially when you start out as a music photographer, you're doing a lot of work for free, so they're always keen to kind of have photos obviously from the event. So that's one way of doing it. Once you've kind of not exhausted that, but when you're kind of at that point where you're thinking, alright, so I want to go ahead and grow with it, so I'm going to shuffle my chair over. You can see my mirror and fabulous New York City print there. Oh, contact lens problem. So when you get to that point where you're kind of thinking, okay, so I'm happy with how my work's starting to get its own style. I've got a little undercut done, guys. When it gets to that point where you're sort of like, I want to go ahead and grow, and I want to start shooting maybe medium to large size venues, and I want to kind of have my name out there a little bit more, that's the point where you should really sort of think about reaching out to people beyond the network that you already have. So maybe online blogs, if you've got your own blog, that's when you would get in contact with press agencies. So press agencies are normally, when the bands kind of get to that point where they're not dealing with or the management won't deal with you one-on-one, they'll outsource their sort of marketing or the press side of their business to the companies, and then they sort of deal with press accreditation. So you'd have to reach out to them. If you're really lucky, it was a blessing in disguise for me when I first started, because I actually had problems with trying to even start shooting for publication, or even a blog, for example. I really struggle with that. If you're quite lucky, you'll have the opportunity to, so if you've set up your own blog, for example, you'll be the point of call to get in contact with these press agencies. But if you're shooting for someone for like a different publication, and it's quite a bigger publication and whatnot, it's normally obviously the editor that sorts that sort of stuff out. So depending on where you're at, you might be yourself getting in contact with them, in which case just do a heap of research, and normally it's on Facebook. You can normally find it under the contact information for these bands who their marketing companies that they're working with and outsourcing to. And then if you're shooting for a bigger publication that has quite a lot of subscribers and things like that, then it'll be your editor that does it, so you don't have to worry about that. The good thing about doing it yourself and reaching out to people is you need to be quite business minded as well. So the great thing about having that authority or that control over reaching out to these people is that people will get to know your name, and not the fact that the publications might not mention your name, depending on who you're shooting for. So it's a great way of marketing yourself. After you're at that, when you get to that point where you're shooting for like publications and things like that, then it depends on where you want to go with it. Do you want to shoot portraits? Do you want to you know, I don't know, it depends on what your aspirations are. The other method I forgot to mention is record labels and management. So if the band are sort of like in between phases and they don't have, you know, you're not able to contact them directly, then it'll be through their management, so you have to get in contact with the management. But these are all like feasible things to do now, especially with social media, because I feel like it wasn't as easy a few years ago when I first started out, or maybe I was just sucked at it to that point, I don't know. You might land yourself in some really embarrassing, awkward situations. One time I was shooting this artist, and because it had already been pre-arranged through someone, it was access to all areas, and the photo of the artist was very different to how he looked in person. And then it was super late night, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning when his set was, and he came through and we shook hands, and I was like, I couldn't hear myself think because it was like super loud at the venue, and he was like, I was like, oh, hiya, sorry, what's your name? And he was like, oh, X, Y, and Z, and I was like, oh shit, you're the person who I'm meant to be working on access all areas with. Very embarrassing, guys. But if you do have any embarrassing and awkward moments, don't you worry about it. You can either like panic and just be like, oh my god, that was so embarrassing, I'm never doing this again, or you can be like, that was embarrassing, who cares, I'll live it down, carry on with it. I've had heaps of those. Hopefully that has been useful. To sum it up, a few ways of getting accreditation. Initially when you're first starting out, definitely the band directly, the venue, the promoters, get to know the promoters in the music scene, and when you're looking a bit for growth, then it's going to be your press agency, or the press companies that deal with the press for all the bands and artists. And then if you're shooting for an agency, then again you'll be in charge of getting in contact with press agencies. It's a great way of getting your name out there, a bit of free marketing for yourself. They're only the ways that I can think of right now. And again, I don't know if I mentioned, but record labels and management is obviously the ones as well. And then it really is about who you know and what you know and how to progress. In this day and age as well, there's so many bands like hiring their own photographers, taking them on tour with them and whatnot. I've not had that opportunity yet. I'm still looking for my opportunity. I'm still working on my opportunity to go ahead on tour with a band and do that element of it. But I wouldn't say I've exhausted it yet. I still very much love concert photography, but it's been slow going. I would really recommend not rushing the process, and don't just push out work for the sake of pushing it out. Just people will get to know your signature and your style of work in time, and that's when you'll start seeing the clients that you really want to work with, and that both of you are going to benefit from, because the worst thing is ending up working with someone that's on a different pace to you creatively, and then both of you leave with photos that are not right for either of you. And that's a problem when it's a commission project, because then you're like, oh crap, like that really messed up. And I've had a couple of those situations, unfortunately, but it's all a learning curve, and you just have to take the best from every situation. So this is going on to 9 minutes. It's a bit longer than what I anticipated, but hopefully it was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've got any questions, leave a comment below, and I'll be back soon. Bye for now.